Welcome to the Health and Fitness Show with Tracy Markley.
You keep saying you got something for me.
Today we're going to talk about stroke recovery. Did you know that 15 million strokes happen worldwide? That's a lot of strokes. And it's happening to all different ages. It's not just the seniors that have strokes. And for those that don't know what a stroke is damage to the brain by interrupted blood supply. A stroke can also be referred to as a brain attack. This happens when a clot blocks blood supply to the brain or when a blood vessel in the brain bursts. Blood supplies oxygen and nutrients to the brain, and when an area of the brain tissue does not receive its blood supply, it results in brain damage. Anything that cuts off blood supply to the brain compromises brain function. We have neurons, and the neurons in the area of the brain that has been cut off from blood supply begin to die, and the functions in the body that the area of the brain controls is affected. There are three main types of stroke that happen. One is the ischemic stroke, and this is a blockage. A hemorrhagic stroke is a rupture or a leak. There is also a TIA, which is a transient ischemic attack, but most people know this as a mini stroke. All strokes are a sign of emergency, even the mini strokes. So if you have one, think you're having one, or someone around you think is having one, still call 911 and get care, because a mini stroke can often be a warning sign of a future stroke. And as in ischemic strokes, blood clots often cause the TIAs by just a tiny blood clot going through. A very important reason to be sure you get seen as soon as possible within signs of a stroke or thinking you may have signs of a stroke. If it's a ischemic stroke, the blockage kind of strokes, if caught within 3 hours, it can be treated by TPA, tissue plasminogen activator. And now I may have said that wrong, but it is a FDA approved for treatments for ischemic strokes. TPA is found naturally in the body to destroy blood clots. When TPA is promptly given within the limited time frame following a stroke, it can save lives and reduce the long-term effects of a stroke. And that time frame is within 3 hours, according to the studies I have seen. Your doctor may give you some different information. Studies are continually changing. To help identify if somebody or yourself is having a stroke, one of the tests would be called the FAST test. The letter F, the letter A, the letter S, and the letter T. F for face. Is their face drooping on one side? Can they smile normally? A, arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them up? Speech, speaking. The S, are they slurring in their speech? Time, T. Any signs of a stroke, call 911 immediately. Time is brain, which means the more time you wait before you get your emergency care could mean life. It could be more brain damage or a longer, harder recovery in some cases. So remember that, the word FAST, F-A-S-T. Now let's talk a little bit about the recovery time. Each stroke survivor has their own unique effects from the stroke. Now, some of the effects are pretty common amongst stroke survivors, but each has their own unique struggle, which means recovery isn't always a cookie cutter, easy to follow program for your recovery. And some people have really good insurance where they cover many, many visits for you. Some people don't have such good insurance, so they get very few. And sometimes in therapy, they have to progress the sessions with the insurance company by the progress of a stroke survivor, which makes it hard because each survivor progresses at a different speed. Some survivors start coming back quickly, some take longer. And in the case of the insurance companies trying to cover more visits for them, if they somehow think you're not going to make any more progress, they may not cover any more visits, which is such a bummer because often in cases, people just need more time to get their furthered recovery because all the brains in everybody's body recovers at a different speed. A stroke causes brain cells to die and others' brain cells to become injured. And the injured cells are often found around the main area of the damage. This area of the injured cells is known as penumbra. It is spelled Penumbra. These brain cells may heal quicker in some stroke survivors. Being quicker meaning they may heal within the first few days and weeks after a stroke. And this is called spontaneous recovery. But you don't really know if you're going to have that or not, or does anyone have really control of that? So after your physical therapy and you need to continue with your recovery, because remember, recovery continues and continues. You need to be repetitive and consistent with what you need to do within the exercises and movements you're trying to get back. The brain can heal itself in many cases, and when the brain's in the progress of healing itself, it's called neuroplasticity. And for example, you have a movement that your arm can't do anymore. It can't flex the arm. The more you try to flex that arm or do the specific exercises that are from therapy or someone you're working with who understands stroke recovery, the more the brain will try to make new pathways to make that movement again. The brain can make new pathways, sometimes just on its own, but a lot of the time with stroke survivors, you have to repeat repetitive movements for the brain to finally make that connection. It's almost like you're driving down a road and there's a lot of roadblocks and you have to keep finding all these new pathways to get to the destination you're trying to get at. That's kind of how stroke recovery works. Stroke recovery takes a lot of patience and it's hard for many people. And I'm happy to announce that there will be a stroke recovery support group in Florence because the closest one has been in Springfield, and that's quite a drive for many survivors and caregivers. And many survivors don't have caregivers with them. They have to get there on their own or hire a caregiver of someone they don't know or call a taxi. And that doesn't make it very convenient for people to go to a support group to help them through their recovery and find people to connect with and relate with and gain some extra knowledge. I have been working with stroke survivors for quite some time, and I've written 2 books on it and a book on fall prevention, stability, and walking. I also was asked to be on the Education Advisory Board for a medical fitness company and write a stroke recovery and exercise CEC course for the fitness industry. I also run a stroke recovery support group private page on Facebook with almost 3,000 people in it. So I have a lot of experience in what challenges and struggles that stroke survivors go through. If you want to know more about the Stroke Recovery Support Group in Florence, Oregon, or more about how I can help you personally in stroke recovery, my website is www.tracymarkley.com. I'm also tracyspersonaltraining.com right here in Florence, Oregon. And you can call the radio station at 541-997-5252. You've been listening to the Health and Fitness Show with Tracy. Go have a great day, fit day, and a healthy day.
Are you ready, Boots? Start walking.